Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the Spicing Up the Rich Content Editor Flex presentation. My name is Greg Beyer. I'm the Distance Education Coordinator here at Columbus River College. And welcome to the Spicing Up the Rich Content. And you heard my voice twice there because I'm also broadcasting this on YouTube Live. And because of that, there's a chat over there. They can't speak though. So I'm going to actually ask everyone to stay muted during our session and to use the Zoom chat for your questions. So let's see, turn that off and mute all upon entry. There we go. Okay. Again, I'm Greg Beyer, the Distance Education Coordinator here at Columbus River College. I also am a course facilitator for the Online Network of Educators, and I'm a Canvas coach in the instructor community. The purpose of today's session is to talk about different ways that we can spice up the rich content editor, meaning adding some visual pizzazz and flair to the work that we do there, and also do it in a way that will not prevent any of our students from missing out on the opportunity to learn the kinds of things that we're sharing. We'll be using some HTML and CSS, and I'll explain what those are. I'll also be showing off a new tool that was just added to the Rich Content Editor in the past couple of months, which is an icon builder, which is again built in. And we'll be using HTML and CSS to do the tasks that are listed there. For each of these, I'm going to show you kind of a before and after picture of what that could look like. And then I'm going to actually show you what that looks like inside Canvas. I do happen to have a resource page that I will post a link to in the chat right now. And that resource page will also be, I'll share with you again at the end of the session. And of course, it'll be linked from where you can access the recording, which will be from my YouTube channel, as well as our Flex page here at CRC. So I'm going to go ahead and get started. Again, don't hesitate at any time to post your questions or comments in chat. And I will also pause and ask you for questions and comments periodically through our time together this afternoon. So we'll start off with making your own icons. The rich content editor in Canvas is ubiquitous. It's just about everywhere in Canvas. Announcements, discussions, quiz questions and answers, discussion, both the prompt and the reply, assignment descriptions, the text editor when our students are submitting assignments. So there are a lot of places that it's located. And one of the things that we can do for that was added to the rich content editor is an icon builder. It's again built into a Canvas, so it's automatically there. Now, this has to be enabled by the system administrator for the instance of Canvas. Where I work in Los Rios, so at Columbus River College, this is enabled, but it is possible that there are other Canvas instances where this has not yet been made visible. If it isn't, then reach out and contact your system administrator to turn that on. So this is a before and after page I'll talk about. This is a table showing the course learning outcomes in my class. This is for my history class I'm teaching this semester. And what I like to do, I have this in my syllabus. I also put it inside Canvas. I have the actual language from our course outline of record, which we are supposed to put on our syllabus. But I find that language to be rather pedantic. It's not written for students, obviously. It's written for other educators, perhaps written for people whose job it is to collect data on the achievement of those course learning outcomes. But since I'm making a class for my students, I want to make sure that they can understand it. So this is what I like to do in my classes, is to add this table where I translate the wording to what I hope is student-friendly language. And I'm going to take advantage of the icon maker to add some pictures to it. You'll see what that looks like when I go advance to the next slide. You see that I added a third column there. I gave it the header of icon, and created those. Those were all created using the Canvas icon maker. And I'll show you how to do that in just a moment. One of the benefits of using the Canvas icon maker is those 3 icons that again, you'll see me create and you see there on the screen, those are reusable anywhere inside Canvas. So what I like to do in my syllabus, right, is I have my outcomes listed. And for each of the assignments on my syllabus that are attached to an icon, or sorry, that are attached to an outcome that are aligned with an outcome, I let them know in the syllabus, right? There's the writing assignments that'll be attached to, recognize or analyze. And by creating an icon, the icon maker stores the icon that I create so that I can very easily reuse it elsewhere in Canvas. So let's take a look at that. Okay, so here is that content page that I mentioned, and I'll select the edit button. And in the Rich Content Editor toolbar, there is an icon maker. That's a new button that's listed there. So I'm about to do that though, but I want to have a place to put those icons. And the next thing I will do is create, I'll add that column to this table. So why don't I add that? I'll actually put it in the middle here instead of at the end. Okay, so I've got an insertion point for this icon, memorize some facts about the past. I'm ready to create an icon. So I'll select that icon maker button again, create icon maker icon. For the title, I'm going to name it memorize. And this is making an image. So of course I need to give it alt text. And the alt text is, I will say, this assignment. I'll say this will help you achieve the memorize outcome for our class. Okay, I'm going to copy that text so I don't have to retype the whole thing. Oop, I didn't end it with a period. Shame on me. Okay, copy that. So then I have these options here, right? Choose the icon shape, the icon size. Let's see, what did I put in my, that was a star. Okay, so let's make that a star. I like having a small icon because I don't want it to take up too much space. And the icon color, I think it was this orange color. That's fine. I'll go ahead and tap that. You can put in your own hex code if you want to grab a color, say, from the college website. For the outline size, that's the border. It says outline, but it's actually the border. I'll go ahead and leave that as is. I do want to add text to this, and so I'll paste that. Actually, I'll type the word memorize. Hey. And you can see where the word appears on the icon, right? It's being created as I'm building it. The next field is the text size. Again, I like to keep things small. I can change the text color if I want. By default, it's black. The text background color, I could add a background color to it. I'm actually not a big fan of that, so I'll leave that blank. And then here's an important choice to make, the text position. You see the default is below. If I choose middle, the text will be across the icon, and maybe that would work if the icon was bigger. Yeah, I guess that works, but now I'm making a really big image. I don't want to have my icon take up too much space. So I'm going to go back to small, and then for the text position, I actually like bottom third because that places it a little bit closer to below the star instead of bottom. Now the image, I don't have an image selected, but I'm going to show that to you for the next ones, and I'll select the apply button. And now I have added that icon to, it's a table right in my, on a content page, but I've now created that and it's in my icon library. I'm going to show you the other two and the other two options that we have. So this one is called Recognize. I'll do the same thing here. Select the icon builder from the toolbar. I'm going to create a new one. This one's going to be called Recognize. And here's that alt text. It's going to be basically the same, except it's recognize instead of memorize. Instead of creating a shape, I'm going to go straight down to image. I'm still going to put the text there, right? This is my keyboard's not being very nice to me. Hey, I'm not typing on the letter M. Okay, I'll keep the text color black. I'm not going to worry about the background. Canvas has a handful of images that are part of the icon maker. I think this one, I go quickly back to my slideshow. That's the black and white icon, single color. And the icon selection is there. If I hover my mouse over the icons, it'll tell me what it's supposed to be. So this is a library icon. Okay, I'm teaching a history class. Let's see, like this is probably going to be art. Yep. Engineering, English, extracurricular, health, music, math, languages, language arts, performing arts, physical education, religion, science, social studies, and technology. That is the limit of the imagination of the developers when they created these icons. If you want to use one of those colors, I'm gonna pause here and I'm gonna pull back the shade I just threw on those developers. They have promised they will allow us to upload our own images to this interface coming at some point later this year. But I'm going to stick with what I had originally in my sample, and I'm going to pick the book icon, okay? And remember the location I have below here, I'm going to change that to bottom third. It'll make it a little bit closer, and I will select apply. Okay, I'm going to do one more, and it's going to be the other option, which are the colored images. Insertion points, icon maker from the toolbar, and create an icon maker. I'm typing a quick message in the other chat. Okay. This one is analyze. The alt text is going to be the same that I had before, but it's analyze this time. And again, I'm skipping all the color options. I'm going straight to the bottom to type the word for the text. Remember, my location is bottom third. And this time I'm going to choose add image and then multicolor image. Again, I have a limited selection chosen by the developers for this tool. And again, I'll mention them. There's art, okay, engineering, English, got it, health, language arts, languages, library, math, music, performing arts, physical education, religion. Okay, we didn't have that one before. Science, social studies, technology. That's funny, you know, in a religion icon, I thought of all the icons that you could have here, religion would be the one that would be black and white. Okay, that was the globe I chose. There we go. And I'm going to select apply. Okay, I'll select the save button, and I've gone through and I've created icons. I've added them to this content page. And now in the way that I'm using icons, right, I'm trying to clue my students in that the activity is attached to a certain outcome. Now I'm going to attach these same icons to items in my class. And I think I can go straight to assignments. Oh, I don't have any assignments yet. Great. So let's create an assignment. I'm going to go straight to more options. I'm going to call this my module 1 writing assignment. I'm going to say, here are some directions. Not put all the directions here, but I want to insert that icon, right? So I go to the icon maker button on the toolbar. And instead of creating a new one, I'm going to take a look at what are the saved icon maker icons in my class. And I see that this is a writing assignment. So this is part of my analyze outcome. I'll go ahead and select that button. And it gets added to my rich content editor for this assignment. I'll go ahead and hit save and publish. So as my students are navigating through the course, when they get to a page that has an icon on it, hopefully what they'll remember from the content page, which is part of my orientation module, where I had the icons listed, that they will see the icon, and they'll start recognizing that the type of activity that they're going to do, the type of outcome that this attached to, will help them as they're accessing this particular activity or piece of content or discussion or whatever. All right. I'm going to pause here and see if you guys have any questions about what I just demonstrated. This tool, this icon maker, was added to Canvas over the summer. This is a new thing that was just added. Okay. All right. Now we'll get into a little bit of a technology discussion. Oh, here's some questions here. Thank you, Claudia. You can see it on your end. Can you create icons on any page, Sila? Yes, you can. Any page where the rich content editor exists is where you can add it. And we don't need to add the LTI. Nope, it is built into Canvas. The only people who won't have it are people who are using a Canvas instance where it has not yet been turned on. So this is a feature that is enabled, but not yet mandated for Canvas users. And you can use it for, something else, you asked, Hanku? You can for anything inside Canvas. Again, any place where the rich content editor occurs. I'll show you a place where it isn't actually. If I go into the grades page, and let's say I want to send a message to this student, right? I can select the student's name. The tray pops out. You can select this icon here to generate a message that goes directly to that student. This send a message interface does not have the rich content editor. So I would not be able to use the icon maker there. Okay, great questions. So let's come back to Jeanette. You asked, you can use emojis. Yes, you can. Yeah, emojis on the keyboard, you absolutely can. Claudia asked, is there a place where we can get free icons to upload in the Icon Maker library? No, not yet. But what the Icon Maker is doing is it's kind of integrating into Canvas a thing that we could do anyway. So I'll show you where I have made icons in the past. There's a tool called canva.com, canva.com. And this tool, I'll put the link in the chat. The Canva tool, I could go and I could create, well, here's some icons I created, right? I made a square. Actually, let me come back and say it this way. So Canva is an online design tool. It's free to use. You can pay for more stuff if you want to. What I like about Canva is it includes, somewhere here in the menus are some short lessons about visual design and matching colors and those kinds of things. And what you can do is create a design, and you could make your own icon and you can download it as a PNG file. And then what I could do is basically put it in my files area of Canvas and call it from there each time I'm adding it to my course. So that's an option that you have. What the Icon Maker does is it kind of builds all of that stuff in with admittedly currently very limited set of options. So that's the, it's in some ways baby steps to doing something that we can already do elsewhere, but it's baby steps entirely within Canvas. And is alt text linked to your upload of your created icon? No, you have to add the alt text yourself. Yeah. Okay, so let's come back to my presentation. What's next? Oh, let's talk about HTML and CSS. So the languages that the Canvas web pages are written in, the code is two different codes primarily. It's hypertext markup language and cascading style sheets. And these two languages basically help make all the stuff that we see. Every web page you look at uses HTML for sure, likely uses CSS. There are some other languages that are used as well. And we have a limited ability within the rich content editor to change the HTML and CSS. Canvas protects us and protects our students by creating an allowed list of codes and codes basically that can be used. And of course, all the stuff I'm going to show you is allowed within the Canvas list. That resources page that I posted earlier and I'll post again, it links to that list of what's allowed inside Canvas in case you know a lot about CSS and HTML and want to do some different things. A way to think about HTML compared to CSS is HTML is the structure of the web page. So there's a header tag is what it's called. And the header tag will have some information in it about the web page. There's a body tag, and within the body is all the stuff that we can see on the web page. But also there's a paragraph tag. There's a tag for if anytime there's a hyperlink. There's all kinds of different tags that HTML uses, which adds structure to the web page. HTML can be used for formatting, but in general, it's preferred to use CSS for formatting because CSS is something where you can format something once and you can make that formatting appear in your entire web page or throughout your entire website. So you may have noticed, for example, that in Canvas, the font that's used everywhere in Canvas is basically the same. The font that is displayed on this page that we're looking at is part of Canvas's style sheet. And that's therefore throughout the entire instance of Canvas. The C in CSS stands for cascading, and cascading style sheets, those formatting instructions, they exist basically on 3 levels that cascade on a web page. At the lowest level, and that's the only level that we can edit as end users in Canvas, is what's called inline style. And that is where we take a single HTML tag and we say, and again, you'll see this, I'll demonstrate it in the rest of this session, is we'll take an individual tag in HTML and we'll say, yes, this is a paragraph tag, for example, but I want this paragraph tag to have a yellow background. I want it to be highlighted. You would use CSS to do that at that inline level. The next level up is style that affects the entire web page. So as part of the header, you could add a style that would say every single paragraph tag on this web page is going to have yellow background, for example. Canvas does not allow us to edit the sheet level style. And then the upper level style, or the third level, is the style that is the entire website. And that is a single sheet. It's called a style sheet that is part of the website. And every single web page on that website references the site-wide style guide or site-wide style sheet. And then that is what formats the text on the page. So in Canvas, and as you can probably guess, we're not allowed to edit that either. Not end users, our administrators can. But in Canvas, it's actually at the upper higher level where the styles are set. So every single Canvas page, the typeface is going to be the same. The height of the heading, like these icons you see, I mean, that's all part of that style sheet. And I'm going to show you how to edit the inline style for certain things. And I'm going to show you how to use Canvas's own style sheet to add stuff that we want in our classes. So let's go ahead and jump right into the first example is floating and padding an image. By default, when you add an image to a page, right, the text does not wrap around the image. You can see that here where I've got one line of my paragraph, that first paragraph, and the rest of it, there's a lot of empty space there. You can add the float and padding style to make it look like this. And when you do that, there are 2 things that are going on here. One is the image is floating to the left. So that means that the text wraps around it. I've also added a little bit of padding. So the distance between the image and the text, that's actually 5 pixels. If we look back on the first page, you'll see that that letter, that first letter C, is very close to the image, right? And look at the distance from all the text on this next one. And I've got a question here in chat about these icons are accessible. Actually, that's going back to the rich content editor. I'm sorry that I missed that earlier. Yes, because we added the alt text to that. That was part of the dialogue to create the icons. Okay, so let's go ahead and take a look at this. I'll go into my float and pattern image page. So of course I have to be in edit mode. And when we edit inside Canvas, the rich content editor, right, we are not working with HTML and CSS directly. If we choose these formatting options up here, even when we add stuff, we insert things, Canvas is writing all the code for us, and that's great. But in order to do a particular thing like this, we do need to edit it a little bit. And I do this by going into the HTML view, which is this icon on the lower right-hand part of the rich content editor. And if I open that, I'm now looking at the code in code view. And very quick grammar of HTML, the first tag here, you see it's got the P with the angle brackets around it. That's P for paragraph, okay? And then at the end of each paragraph, you see there's a /P. So that closes the tag. So if I select this entire paragraph here, right, it starts off with vivamus, suscipit, tortor, and ends with malus suada. My Latin pronunciation, of course, is excellent. If I switch back to the rich content editor view, right, there's that second paragraph. So that is that tag right there, right? Again, the opening P for the paragraph and then the closing P. The tag that I want to modify is the image tag, and it happens to be IMG. You see a space there, so that is the tag, and then after that, there's a space, and then the tag will have one or more attributes. The attribute is src for source. You know, this is basically the browser telling the computer, hey, you're going to show an image right here, and here's where the image is located, right? So there's an address for the source. I'm going to insert the style in between image and source, and I'm going to copy it actually straight from that resource page I mentioned earlier. Okay. So I paste it. So I'm adding the style attribute to the tag, and then notice it says float right. No, I want it on the left side of the window. So I'm going to change that from right to left. And the padding, you see 4 values here, and I can never remember what the order is, but one of these is up above, one is to the right, one is below, and one is to the left. So if I switch back to RCE view, or sorry, yeah, it's Rich Content Editor view. Okay, it looks like that padding that's 10 pixels is actually on the left. I want it to be on the right side. So let's go back into code, and I'm going to switch that from the 4th number to the 2nd number. Okay, so I've got 0 pixels. I think this is going to be 0 pixels on the bottom. No, 0 pixels on the top, 10 pixels on the right, 5 pixels below, and 0 pixels on the left. Yep, that looks just about right. I definitely have the pixels on the right there. As you go through working with this style in Canvas, right, you can change those numbers and take a look at what that looks like. And then I'm going to point out one thing else here. You may have noticed that when I first put that style in, I put in a bunch of empty space, right, so that I could have an easier time looking at what I was typing. When I switched back and forth, Canvas removed the empty space, because Canvas is pretty smart about that. It removed the empty space and it made it a little bit tighter. So, but I can still change those numbers if I want to. And let's go ahead and click the save button. And let me see if you guys have any questions about that. Oh, thank you, Jeanette. HTML code know-how, yeah. Those of you who are old enough, I don't suspect many of you are, when I first learned word processing, we used it on DOS computers. And there's a program called WordPerfect where you had to type in the codes. It was almost like copy editing back in the old days when everything was on print. Is there a find and replace option when you're editing HTML code? Not built into Canvas. No, unfortunately, there isn't. So what I do sometimes is I will take, I'll take the code. There's actually a good example coming up for this. I'll take the code and I'll basically copy it, paste it into a word processing program, and then do the find and replace over there, and then bring it back in. You had HTML in high school, you made lines, yeah. Okay. All right, let's move on. What's next? Putting text inside a box. So in this example, right, I've got some text on this page, and you see there's a quotation in the middle, scribo aetheris. And as I was writing this content page, I intentionally pulled the quotation out in its own distinct paragraph to kind of make it stand out a little bit, right? But if I could add some visual flair to that by putting it inside a box, that would make it look a little bit better. And this is what that can look like. So I put a box around it, right? I haven't changed any of the contents, and this is accessible, but I have added this box. So that's the next thing I'm going to show you how to do. So here's that page. I'm going to go to Edit View. I'll switch to HTML view. And again, I like to give myself empty space when I'm working because it'll help me catch mistakes that I make. And I'm going to copy the code again over from that resource sheet. My computer will allow me to, there we go. Copy and then paste. So on that resource sheet, right, I've got some sample language. You see where it says your text goes here. Well, I'm just going to I'm going to cut and replace that with this. So I'm introducing a new tag here. This is the div tag, div. I think that's short for division. And on the page, in terms of the layout, it's the same effect as a paragraph tag. So if I go back over here, right, that scribo aetheris, that quote I pulled out, you can see that it's about the same distance, right, from the other elements on the page as a paragraph. So that's how the space works out. And then to this div tag, I'm adding 3 elements of the style, right? I've got the style attribute. I'm adding margin, border, so it's border 5 pixels solid, and I'm adding padding. The padding, as we saw with the image, the padding is the distance between the thing and the stuff around it. The margin is the distance between the borders of the thing and the stuff that's inside it. So this pixel, this border here, right, again, top right, bottom left, I should have 0 pixels on top of the text, 20%, so you can use pixels. That's a discrete measurement. 20%, if you use percentage, that is the percentage, the proportion of the browser window that it's using. And then you see there's the border, and I'm saying it's 5 pixels thick, and it's a solid border. And then I'm adding padding. So let's take a look at what that looks like. Okay, there it is. Let's see, the margins, right, with the 20%. Let's make those margins 30%. And that should be left and right, and it should be a little bit closer to the middle, scrunched in a little bit. Yeah, right. So there's me again changing with those numbers. If I change the width of my window, you can see how the box is getting smaller because it is trying to maintain 30% on either side of the box. Okay, so let me go in here. And I like the 20% better, actually. We're going to do color coming up in the next task, but this, again, is how I can add a box around text, and that kind of pops it out. Okay, let me hit save here. Let's see. How does HTML code work for devices? For example, the look of the laptop, handheld device, iPad, yeah. And I got someone online at YouTube asking me to share the code for the box maker. Yes, you know what? I didn't post the link to the, here is the resource. Sorry about that, everyone. Let's add that here. Okay, so a couple of questions here. The resource sheet, thank you for asking that question, Ava. I'll put the link in the chat again. This is a Google Doc that I created. It's publicly available, and it's basically got all the sample code that I'm copying and pasting, and it's got some additional resources on it. So I'll include the link with the recording as best I can. But for sure, I'll be popping in the chat as we go through. Okay. Stuart, thank you for sharing. You learned this last year and you made a word sheet. Yeah, that's basically what I've done too. Okay. Now, it looks like I missed those comments a few minutes ago. Sorry about that. Let's see. Okay, how does HTML code convert for devices? For example, the look of a laptop, handheld device, iPad. That's a great question. If you use CSS like I'm showing you how to use, and Canvas already does this, it is designed in a way that's called responsive. And that means that it will adjust to the width of the window. So here's a good example. If I, by default, right, the course menu is visible there on the left. If I make this this window rather very narrow, eventually the course menu disappeared, right? I can't access the course menu until I click on the hamburger menu up top now. And oops, I click on there's the menu over there. There it is. I have to click on the little arrow on the right side, excuse me, for the hamburger menu. Hamburger menu is for the global navigation menu. The course menu is over here. So here's how I can access the course menu. This is the web page being responsive to the width of the device that it's looking at. So thank you for asking that question. Okay. Okay, and I got the other text chat comments answered there. So let's move on to the next item. Make an impact with icons. So I'm going to do color here, and I'm going to add there are two things I'm going to do to this page, right? This is a information for my students during the first week of the semester, right? We are supposed to drop the students who don't show. I teach an asynchronous online class, so I have them do some stuff in Canvas to show them that they're attending. And at the bottom of this, I've got this line that says, all are due Sunday and are required to maintain your enrollment in the course. Well, I want that to be more obvious because that's really important for my students. So I'm going to add a box around that text, which you guys already know how to do. I'm going to add color to the box, which I'll show you how to do. And I'm going to pull one of the icons that Canvas uses elsewhere so that I can perhaps add and bring in a little bit of attention. All right, so you see the orange border around the text, and I added a bell icon because this is a warning to my students. And so I'll show you how to do that. Well, here's that same text. Let's go into edit mode. Again, go into HTML view. Now this is at the bottom of the page, so I'm going to give myself some space to work with. Go find my handy dandy code, copy and paste. And this is going to be a bit more complicated because I have 3 of those div or div tags. I've actually got 3 of them and they're all nested within each other. And I know that I've got 3 because I have the 3 closing divs at the end, right, of the code. So first things first, your text goes here, okay? Where's my text? Oh, it's down at the bottom. So I'm going to copy all of that. I'm going to cut, and I'm going to paste and replace this here. Okay. I'm going to flip back over to see if it worked. It did. Now I can't see the icon. You have to save in order to see it. So let's save to make sure it's there. And yes, it is. Great. So that's what I just did, copying and pasting. Let me go into the code a little bit. Okay, so again, I'm going to isolate it so it's easier to talk about. So I've got the margin, right? We talked about that before. This one's a 3-pixel border. It's solid. And then here is a 6-digit code that represents the color. Now, to get the color code, let me grab a web page. Let's see, I'm going to copy this link. I'm going to put it over here. And I'm also going to put it in the chat. And again, this is part of the resource page. There are lots and lots of places around the internet where you can get color codes. You can click on a color. What am I doing wrong here? Click on a color to get the code. Huh. Oh, there it is. I just lost it. So I clicked on that green, right? There's a blue. There's a red. Okay. And these 6-digit codes, this is the hexadecimal code. Those are the color codes. What I like to do, and I did that for this code here, is I went to our college's website. So hopefully every college does something like this. And in our case, it's on our employee site under college-wide, the Public Information Office. They have a branding toolkit page. And the branding toolkit lists the color guide for CRC. And I grabbed this color code here, F26E21. That's that orange color, which is the color that we have for this border. If you look at the color codes carefully, you'll see that that's the same orange color that's in the branding right inside of Canvas. Hopefully all Canvas instances are making their colors look like the college. I think they're pretty good at doing that. And hopefully, if you're at a college and that you want to add your college colors to your stuff, that you can find the Public Information Officer's branding guide on your college website. Okay. One other thing I want to share, and before I move on to the next one, let's go back to edit. Let's say you say, you know what, Greg, I don't want to use the bell icon. I want to use a different icon. Well, there's the code for that, icon alerts. And there's another word that I want to introduce you to, and that is the word class. Class is how we call the style guide that is supporting the entire website. So on Instructure's style guide for every Canvas instance, there's a whole bunch of icons. And if you type the word icon hyphen and then the name of the icon, you can get that icon. So alerts happens to be the bell. Let me find that icon list. I know it's on the sheet, and I'm going to look for it. Oh, here we go. So the code for icons, I'm going to paste it in chat here. Thank you, Claudio, for mentioning the branding toolkit is set for each college. Yeah. Okay, so here's that page that I just put in chat. So this is where Instructure's design stuff is, and here are all the icons. And if I look at alerts, you can see that it is there, right there, right? There's the bell. So let's say I want to change it to, I can do a search on this page. Is warning. Oh, cool. There's a warning option, right? In fact, look, it's the word warning. So if I go back into my code and I change that from icon alerts to icon warning, I should get that circle with the arrow, the exclamation point. Yeah. So that's a way, again, I can include the icons in that from Instructure's style guide. And what's nice about using the icons, right, instead of, I just use the word icon, right? Instead of the icon maker that I showed you earlier, look how small this thing is. This thing fits within a line of text. It's not going to use up a lot of space. It's also ignored by the screen reader, so we don't have to worry about it being accessible or not. The information that's relevant to every student is right there, all our new Sunday at the end of the first week. So that's a way that we can, again, make an impact with Instructure's icons. Before I move on, let me see if there's any questions you want to add. Okay. Make a striped table. In order to make a striped table, or no, I guess I'll do the why I would do it first. So this is a table in a Canvas page. It's got a header, it's got a caption, and it's neat and it works, but I think there are 11 lines in this table and I'd like it to be striped, right? I want alternate shading on each of the table rows, and Canvas has a way to do it, and it's actually really easy. And then not only does the code that I'm going to show you add the stripes, like you see the gray and the white backgrounds, it also is interactive in that wherever the mouse is hovering, like right now in the screenshot, is hovering over the row for ethnic studies, that has a blue background, so it changes color, right? It pops to the person who's viewing it. So how we do that is we already have a table created, so that's the table that I have here. And I'll take this opportunity to give a plug-in for our statewide academic senate and the work that they do on our behalf and on behalf of our students. This is actually legit information that's on this page. A law was passed, AB 928, mandating that all three segments of higher education, I'm sorry, that both CSUs and UCs, I'm sorry, no, it's all three segments, that we have a singular GE pattern for our degrees. So they don't want us to have separate GE patterns anymore. This is the legislature, and the statewide academic senates participated in a group that was faculty from all three segments, the UC faculty, CSU faculty, community college faculty, who created this proposed singular GE pattern. And they're collecting feedback from everyone about this proposal and whether we like it or not. Anyway, so this is the table that I want to add a stripe to, and I'll go into the edit mode. I'll go into HTML view. And what I'm going to change here, the only thing I need to change is to add a class to the table header, right? So in HTML view, this tells the browser there's going to be a table here. There's the caption. And then here are the headers, the header cells, right? Subject pattern. And then here are the table rows. And if I look down the table, I would see all the rows. And at the bottom, it's going to close. There's closing the table body, closing the table itself, right? The only thing you need to change here is to add a class to the table tag. And that class is as follows. Let me isolate that a little bit here. Okay, so you see where it says class, IC table hover, row, IC table stripes, right? These are all entries in the instructor's style sheet that applies to every single page inside Canvas. And they're using it on their web pages, so we can use it too. And when we do that, add that class to the table. Here it is. It formats it, it makes it look nicer. It also adds the border, and you can see the highlight as I move my mouse over the table. Okay. I've got one more thing to show, and I think this is the neatest one. But before I do that, let me see if you guys have any questions. It would be cool if you could, with one HTML code, change the entire theme for your Canvas course to align with the college colors. Yes, yes, it would. But we, unfortunately, how we could do that would be really hard. But it's hard. It's hard in two ways. It's hard in terms of going through the code to, insert all the colors and everything. It's also hard in that someone's got to maintain that custom code at the district office, basically. And so it's a workload issue for them, unfortunately. Okay, the last thing I want to do is make a tabs web page. Let's see, what does that look like? There we go. So a content page can be pretty long, and you might have sections of it that you want to be side by side, instead of the consecutively. Well, heck, why don't I just show you an example that Canvas already uses? And the easiest place to see that is on the settings page. As I select these tabs at the top of the page, course details, section, navigation, apps, right? These are all changing the content of what I'm seeing. These are called tabs. And what we can do in our use of the rich content editor is, again, call this class that Canvas uses and add tabs ourselves. So the example that I have, you see this parse una, parse duo. There's actually a third part here. I'm going to have it look like that. So there's parse una. You can see these tabs with links there. As the user selects these tabs, just like we do on the settings page, it changes the content of what they can see. So let's go ahead and do that on one of our pages. And I want to do a quick time check before I. Okay, perfect. Let's see, go back to that page. So I've got some content on this page, right? It's obviously 3 parts because I've got parse una, duo, and tribus. I'm going to go into edit mode and go into HTML view. And of all the things that I've showed you today, this one is by far the one that takes the most work, but it's tedious work. And this is where attention to detail really, really matters. Because if you mess up the code, you can end up in a case where you've got all 3 of these parts on one of the tabs and not on tabs 2 and 3. So I'm going to very, deliberately go through this and make sure that you guys all understand this. Okay. And okay, let me make sure I see my chat windows visible. All right. So there are 2 ways to get the sample information, right? I've got the sample code here that I'm going to copy and paste here. And I'm going to put this at the bottom. Let's see, where are we? There we go. No, I'm sorry. I'm going to put this at the top. So I'm going to edit all the stuff that I just pasted. I've already made a video that kind of focuses. No, I'm sorry. Let me say there's 2 other ways that I'm going to put some links in the chat right now. This code that I just put in, I've created a content page that's available in the Canvas Commons that you can import directly into your course, into any of your courses, and then you can then edit this code that I just pasted and put your stuff in the code instead of doing what I'm going to show you, right? Which is adding the code to an existing page. So let me post a link to a video that shows how to do all that. Let's see, where is here it is. So this video link that I'm putting in the chat is a link, a video on how to import the sample page with tabs and use it in a class. So that's this video right here. Oops. And then I'm going to show you what's in the video. So it's my voice, but otherwise, if you watch it, you might miss other stuff. I don't know. Okay. So in case you don't know, the Canvas Commons, it's a link here in global navigation. Canvas Commons is a place where, thank you, Stuart, for those kind words. The Canvas Commons is a place where anyone who uses Canvas anywhere in the world, can create and share and find and import anything from a single content page or a single announcement all the way up into an entire course. And you can do a keyword searches. So what I do is I do a sample page with tabs. And one of those search icons is this one here. It's got my name on it. It's got the CRC Hawk logo on it. And if I click on the link here, right, I get a preview. And this preview, by the way, doesn't have tabs on it, but you can see what it looks like if you don't have the style, right? Because this website that we're looking at right now, it doesn't have that style for the Canvas site. This is actually a different website. It still works, right? You see tab 1, 2, 3. And what you would do then is you would select the import button over here. This tray that just pops out, this lists all the courses that I have on this instance of Canvas. And I would, what's this course called? Spicing Up the Rich Content Editor. So let me do a search here. There we go. So if I select that course and I import, right? Now this is a small resource. It should be there pretty quickly. If I go into my pages area of Canvas, where is it? Pages. Sample page with tabs. Is it in there? There it is, right? It looks like I've done this a couple of times already. So this page here is a page that I could copy and paste and edit instead of going into a page that already has content where I might be worried about messing stuff up, right? So again, two different ways you can do this. The resource page that I shared with you, and I'll go ahead and put that link in the chat again. So the resources page has the video that I just showed you. I'm sorry, that I just gave you the link to. It also has the code that I just pasted for you live. So let me walk through editing the code and talk about that. Okay. So the code includes header text. If you want text to be at the top of each tab, I'm going to leave this here so we see what that looks like. Here's that class, right? Class enhanceable contents tabs. Great. I'm going to leave that as it is. And then within this page, I'm using hyperlinking. This is the A tag for a hyperlink. The href is the hyperlink reference, and it's hashtag tabs -1. So when someone clicks on this link, it's going to try to find the anchor that has tabs 1 as the name. And if I scroll down just a little bit, I see there's the anchor right there, right? Div ID equals tabs 1. So what's really important, and this is where you have to be deliberate and careful and pay attention to detail, is that the list of links that are at the top of the page, that these anchor tags, that's what the hashtag means, that these anchor tags match the ID of the div tags that are elsewhere in the page. So hopefully the logic of adding a 4th tab or a 5th tab is something that you could imagine doing. And I'll go ahead and do that right now. I'm going to copy the link for tab 3 at the top, paste it, and I'm just going to change the ID, right, to HTML tabs -4, and I'll rewrite this right here. These anchor tags and these IDs don't have to be tabs -1. You could do whatever you want as long as they match, and that's what's really important. So right now I have 4 tabs, but only 3 sections. So I'm going to take one of these sections, and you'll see here how the section begins with a div and it closes with a div. I'm going to copy that code. I'm going to paste it, and then I'm going to change the ID so that it's tabs -4. Oops. So that it matches the anchor tag that I put at the top. So I've got tabs 1, 2, 3, 4, tabs 1, 2, 3, 4. And I might as well change this text as well, because otherwise I'm going to confuse the heck out of myself. Okay. So I've done a little bit of editing of the code that I copied and pasted. I mentioned the header text at the top of each tab. I've also got some placeholder footer text, and that's at the bottom of each tab, right? So that's always visible on the page, no matter which tab the students are looking at. Okay, so I'm going to take pars una. I'm going to copy all of that, and I'm going to select all that and then cut. And then up for tab 1, I'm going to replace all of the stuff that's in between the closing and opening div for tab 1, right? It opens div ID equals tabs 1, and then it closes. You don't have to, include the attributes. You just close the tag. So I'm going to paste there, right? So that's pars una. Let's go ahead and grab pars duo. Select, cut. Right, it should be obvious what the sample placeholder text is. It says tab 2 content paragraph 1, tab 2 content paragraph 2, paste. For part 3, there's pars tribus, select. I notice I left that omnia in probatione. I left that at the bottom because I want that to be the footer text. I'm going to replace that, tab 3. Okay. Now, I don't have tab 4 content yet, and I can add it in here, right? I can select this and type over it, but I can also add it in the WYSIWYG, in the rich content editor. Let's get rid of footer text appears at the bottom of each tab. And I'm going to switch back to the rich content editor. Notice that the tabs are not visible yet. You have to save the page for the tabs to be visible. But I do have that sample text, right, for tab 4. I don't know my Latin well enough, so I'm going to go Spanish. And I'm going to very carefully only edit this text here. And I say very carefully because if I go too far, I'm reaching into the footer text, and that might mess up my tab structure. So what I actually like to do is keep that last character there, right? You see the number 2. I'm going to keep that last character there, and I'm going to get myself some more of this wonderful Latin text here and just paste it. And then remember that number 2 at the end? Okay, there it is. So I'm going to delete that number 2. So I should have pars una, pars duo, pars tribus, quattro o. You know what? Why don't I rename these links up here to match those 4 things? And again, being very careful, I'm going to type from inside the link. Pars duo. Okay, I'm typing from inside the link, and I'm not, in other words, I'm not selecting the whole thing and then typing over, because if I do that, I might accidentally overwrite some of that code. But let me switch over to code and I'll do the last 2 that way. Right, so I've got my page. I'm not going to interrogate the code right now, because when I hit save, I'll know one way or the other. But at the top here, I'm going to replace this, right? Not tab 3, but pars tribus, and not tab 4, but quattro. Okay. Now the moment of truth. If I hit save, is it going to work? Oh, it did. Look at that. So as I click on each of these 4 tabs, right, you can see the content is changing, but the header remains the same and the footer remains the same. Okay. I got a question there. Claudio asked, what does UL stand for? Great question. So in the code, right, you see this is a list, it's a bulleted list. The code UL means unnumbered list. That's what UL stands for. And then LI is list item. So if I change this to OL, which is for outline list, let's see what that looks like. It doesn't change it here because of the style, but if I look in the rich content editor view, that's going to be a numbered list instead of bullet list. So the class that I'm calling to make the style happen, that is for those 4 areas, that's overriding that list designator that I had. I like bullet points better for this item, so I'm going to leave it as unnumbered list. Okay. Let's hit save again. And so I've got my tabs page. I think the next slide is my thank you slide. Before I say thank you, any other questions about tabs? Heck, I'll say thank you anyway. Thank you for attending. As we are on this last page, the information that's on the slide here, that's a website that we created to support some faculty at CRC using online education stuff. The information that's there is pretty much universally applicable. So even if you're not at Cosumnes River College, there might be helpful information for you there. At CRC in Los Rios, and I think throughout our CCC system, we do have 24-hour help available via the global navigation menu inside Canvas. What other questions that I can do you have that I can answer? And anything else that you want to say about the stuff that we covered today? Well, thank you, Claudio. My brain either grew or lost some brain cells. You are experiencing how flexible our brains are, no matter how old we are. Neuroplasticity, that's what it's called. All your tabs are open. Great, thank you. Thanks everyone for joining this session. I do hope that you enjoyed it. I hope it was beneficial for you. You all know how to contact me, so don't hesitate to let me know if you need help. And we've got some resources there. And for one last time, I will post the link to the resources page in the chat. I'll again make sure that it's accessible with the recording. I will say thanks to everyone. I hope the rest of your day is awesome. And I hope that everyone has an excellent beginning to the semester.